Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on Dating Today. My name is Brock Olson. I am your host. I'm joined with my co-host, Megan.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about managing dating expectations and whether or not they're ruining your relationships and dating possibilities. Set it up. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us again on Dating Today, a conversation about modern dating issues. This is Megan, my co-host. I'm Brock, your host. And if you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave that in the section below of this video. Also, Megan did have a poll that she wanted you guys to answer about whether or not you think women are the most powerful motivators on earth, if that's what's motivating men to achieve.
Let me be clear.
Okay, clear it up.
Men have to answer the poll. I see all up on your advice stuff.
Yeah, let the men answer.
The women always get up in there. It's like, hey, men, answer this.
I don't
and the
even
women
care.
Get in there.
I'll let the women do it either, but
No,
we do want the
men.
men. Yes, we do want the men to answer. Men, do you think that women motivate you to achieve beyond what you would just do by yourself? Megan.
Brock.
I want to ask you a question. So, obviously, you're kind of dating. A little bit. Tell me, when you go on a first date, what are you expecting? What is it that you are thinking is going to happen on that first date? Say he's done all the right things, he's messaged you, he's been consistent in the communication, but you're about to have your first date. Like, what are you expecting? What is going through your mind?
Personally,
I
now no longer have expectations. I just kind of hope that it doesn't suck and that we can at least have a few laughs and that at some point it will be comfortable and easy like we had talked about last week. We get to that threshold. So for me personally, I've kind of dropped a lot of those things, but I do know that like when I'm thinking about like dating and like that's where the expectations begin to build for me.
Okay, so it sounds like that's probably happened because it's a learned situation before, well, let's say 10 years ago. Were you that way? Did you have no expectations, or were they sky high like I think everybody else's kind of are?
If I was like really into him and I was like really excited and I thought that he was giving the same vibes back.
Well, wait, what's getting you really into him? Let's start there. What would get you really into him? Because you haven't gone on the first date yet.
No, if we're communicating and we have noticed that we have quite a few things in common or we have similar viewpoints on things, we have the same values, and he's given me compliments and he's like, you know, affirmed me in ways. He's like, wow, you're really funny, or wow, you know, I'm so impressed with your knowledge on this, or things like that kind of speak directly to like what I hope people notice. You know, like a compliment is like what you hope people notice. Like a one that you receive really well is one that you like hope that people notice about you.
Sure.
And so when somebody hits that, you're like, ooh, you see me.
And a compliment not just on like maybe your physical appearance, but maybe a choice, something like that, maybe an energy that you're giving, something.
Yeah, like oh my gosh, like that was hilarious. You know, you're a really funny girl. Something like that is like you're speaking straight to my heart.
Okay.
So if it's going well like that, and he's like, I'm so looking forward to this. I have this thing planned, and you know, he tells me, and I'm like, wow, like you nailed it. Like if all the things are starting to come into place like that, then I often start building this kind of like, I don't have like, oh, he'll hold my hand and then, you know, like, oh, maybe we'll have our first, I don't have any of those things. It's more so just like, I wonder how many kids he wants.
Oh, you're going.
Well, remember, Christian dating.
I got it.
You don't date somebody that you wouldn't marry. And so, you know, you think like, okay, does this person have the ability to be like a strong, you know, moral character and run the ethics of the household? Like, is this person going to have my back? Are they going to be, are they going to be able to like hold their own in an argument with me? Like,
you're thinking this before even the first date. Could I mean, have kids
look, okay, so no, not before the first. I'm saying like if everything's going well and like we're on that first, I don't know because every single person's been so different.
Okay.
And so I think I'm all over the place when it comes to first dates. That's the big one because first dates are so like hit or miss. I think it's when I've been on a few dates is where the expectations I'm kind of like, well, he should be calling me every day, or he should be, reaching out at least for some kind of community. I think that starts building when you feel like there's a connection that's been built.
Sure.
I think that's where it starts for me.
Well, do you know where like you're getting your set of expectations? Are you getting them from where a lot of people are getting them from now, which is like social media, movies, like just people talking about like, hey, if he's not doing this, if you're not getting princess treatment, if this and that and the other, like, is that where you're getting your expectations, or are they maybe even more biblical? Where are you getting your expectations
I just have to
from?
say that I hate when people say like princess and prince and like treat them like a queen, and I hate it so much.
Okay.
It's like a big pet peeve. I heard somebody say it the other day, and I was just like, but to be fair, like in Christian culture, it's like if God the Father is king of all, and then we are his children, then technically, you're supposed to treat your partner like a prince and a princess. So there is that in that, and I still hated it then too. There's so much, that's something that I want to dive off into in my own world, is there's so much in Christian culture that has done a really bad job of teaching them how to date, but there's also a crap ton in our modern culture that is educating people on how to date so poorly as well.
Oh, I completely agree.
So much contamination in the water.
Well, last week, the episode was about chivalry and feminism, if they can coexist. Do you think some of your expectations are derived from either one of those? Like he needs to be demonstrating like chivalrous acts, like those types of expectations? Because the amount of people, and when I say people, I'm talking about women, because they are going to communicate this more often. It's like, if he walked on the wrong side of the sidewalk, done. Not even seeing him again.
So here's what's funny about that is I've never had a you're done, you get points for. So like mine kind of is like a neutral. I know that a lot of guys don't know the sidewalk one, but if I've noticed that a guy has put me on the inside of the sidewalk, I'm like, that's adorable and so cute. It's like, I feel like he cares to protect me. Granted, most men and most people don't actually know where that came from.
Sure.
It wasn't about getting hit by a car.
No, I was actually going to say that's not about protecting who's going to get hit by a car. It was to make sure she didn't get splashed on.
Well, it was people poured their latrines out the window.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yep. To keep you clean, so we would just be walking around with shit all over us, basically. That would be chivalry. Anyway. But that's like an expectation, is to make sure like that's happening, or we talked about even the paying the bill or taking care of this and that.
So there's a little bit of I think mine is more like hope centered, and then if they start doing it, this is how I build expectations, is if they have shown a pattern of behavior, now it is expected, and if they stop that pattern of behavior, then something is wrong. And that has always been, and I've talked to a lot of other women, and that's kind of the same thing, is like once your patterns of behavior start shifting, which is usually after like date 3. When you start seeing some sort of things, and then you're like, it's too early to jump on it and ask him, because then you just seem like you're like too into him. But then like you don't want to wait either and just kind of make excuses for all the stuff if like you can bow out earlier. Because like if you've set an expectation where you're talking every single day, and then all of a sudden you don't.
Yeah, like you miss a day.
And you're like, okay,
so no call, no show is what that is.
Yeah, and the thing is like what's infuriating about that is the rules that men have. You are not allowed to call them out. You are not allowed to say something, because that makes you crazy.
You can't call the men out?
No, you're crazy if you say something like, then you're controlling, or you're trying to demand too much from him, or you're too needy. It's any one of those things. If you're like, hey, we didn't talk yesterday. Everything good? And it's like, yeah, I didn't think we needed to talk every day. And you're like, well, we did prior to yesterday. We did?
That's the soft gaslighting starting right there.
It's like, and it's so often though, and I know, like I've heard it from the guys' end, where I know what they're thinking too. Sometimes it's that they started picking up a conversation with an old flame, or they got in, like somebody started flirting with them, and then they felt bad to even like they started feeling like maybe my feelings aren't as strong as I thought they were. And so they second guessed it, and then they just were like, oh, whatever, I'll just deal with it tomorrow.
Or maybe they saw something that made them change their mind.
Honestly, the guys that I've talked to have never admitted, and it wasn't about me, it was like my guy friends talking about dating girls, and and I'm like, you can't do that to them. If you start realizing that you're not having an interest, you let them know like you want to press the brakes a little.
Well, that requires emotional awareness. And not a lot of guys even have that. Like, ooh, I don't know how I'm feeling, but I don't really feel the way I did when I slid into her DMs. I'm just gonna back out.
Yeah, that's a big thing though. Like, I think that they're not willing to get through that little phase of the swirly feelings where all of a sudden you're not as amped and you're not as like adrenaline rush forward, and you're more in this kind of like, I enjoy this person, and you're kind of starting to feel like, am I attracted? Is there connection? Is there chemistry? Is this?
Oh, 100%.
I honestly really do think that the expectations roll in around dates 3 and 4.
Well, there's 2 phases to this. I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head. Like when he first like messages or slides in DMs or whatever, he's really excited. After like 2 or 3 dates, something changes, and it's called accountability. Now he is going to be required to show up and be consistent and, you know, be a man, like be clear, communicate, like keep going. And he's like, I kind of like the easy chase, the getting the attention, but now I have to continue showing up like this. It's a little bit more work than what I'm willing to put in, and that happens a lot. There's a lot that in the early stages a guy is really responsible for, and he's like, am I getting, and, you know, is the investment worth it? Like
I'm sorry to interrupt, but like that stuff fires me up.
I can tell.
Go
on.
It fires me up because it's like, oh shoot, as soon as there's any semblance of accountability, and I have probably a specific person in my life right now who just despises accountability.
Are you seeing this person?
No.
Do we need a cut?
No. No. A friend of mine who has, over the years, I've just watched it happen over and over, despises accountability, is like, I don't want to be seen, I don't want to be noticed, I don't want to be observed, I don't want to be held to the standard because tomorrow I might feel differently. And I'm like, that is inconsistent, that is unsafe. You cannot offer any person in your life safety, security, if you cannot offer consistency and accountability.
So true.
And so it's super duper frustrating because I feel like we're in a world where nobody wants to have accountability on their shoulders anymore. And so that is also another thing that is destroying like the ability to date properly and and so then it's like you lower your expectations, you lower your standards. Like you asked me, what are your expectations I don't have any. Not until you've given me some to have.
Okay.
And then that's like, I do have standards of how I want to be treated, but you have to give that time too. Because nobody's going to treat you that way out the gate. And if they do, then you're like, oh crap, am I being love bombed? And you have to brace for that too.
Sure.
Because we've all been in the love bomb, and we've all been in the like, where they, what is that called?
Like breadcrumb
anxious
a little
avoidant.
bit? Oh, yes. Okay.
Anxious avoidant attachment, where they're like hot in, and then all of a sudden the accountability hits, and they're right on out. And that's my friend. And I'm just like, go read the book.
Go read the book.
Love you, read the book.
Yeah, no, 100%. You know, we were talking with my wife who's in the audience right now. You both mentioned Bridgerton. Such a beautiful show. So unrealistic though, and I think that lends to a lot of unrealistic expectations on what courting should be, what chivalry should be, what romance is. And it just is like and I joked with her. I said, it's like every time, because she would watch it without me. Every time I walk in the room, I'm like, they're having another ball. She's like, yes. I was like, this is so unrealistic.
But
look at these scenes, look at these sets. Like every single day they seem to be having a ball. It's like,
how lovely would it be to have a ball? Are you kidding me?
I get it, but don't you think that like skews expectations of what romance and consistency of what a man is supposed to be providing? Like if he's not coming, if he doesn't look like that, if I'm not getting that, then it's below my standards.
Hold on. So what you're telling me right now is that at your Stupid Cupid conference where we're going to have the singles mixer and dancing, you are not giving the girls dance cards to get punched?
Dance cards? No. Oh, no. I was like, wait, what are we doing? No. Absolutely. No, that is not at all what's going to happen. No, that's not what we're doing. No, I mean, actually, the seminar is to help people with their expectations. What is it that you should be going into dating, thinking, and communicating what your standards are? You said something like, I don't know if you quite heard that. You said you have your standards, but you don't really set them yet. I'm like, you got to come with your standards. Boundaries are for people.
No,
standards
boundaries
are for you.
Yeah, I'm like, I got boundaries, and I have the standards of what I hope for, and I will accept nothing less. It's why I am 37 and single, is because I have met a whole lot of not that. And everybody, a lot of people are like, well, your standards are too high. And this is where I think people might, you might even say, oh, maybe that's expectation, which I've done some digging, and it could be. We can chat about that.
A lot of us base our standards based on our expectations. I'm not going to go. We talked about this last week. The amount of people who will not do a coffee date, that's below my standards. My expectations are up here. He needs to wine and dine me. This is what I need. And I'm sorry I keep saying women, but they're the ones who more vocally express what their expectations are.
We can talk men too, because men visually they think that they're going to get Barbie, especially with AI, especially with porn, especially with social media influencers who every single photo is edited and curated, and so they think that they're living this specific life. Well, try marrying influencer and see what your job is for the rest of your life. Not you. I'm good on marrying an influencer and see what your job is for the rest of your life. Cameraman.
Right. Cameraman.
Yeah. I mean, there's jokes about it all
Editor,
over
light,
the internet.
light guy. Yep.
But so it's, so it's like men have this visual standard and stuff, and then all of a sudden I feel like they take so very little time to think about what their standards are for their emotional well-being, and then they go into this thing and they're like, just something's not, I don't know. And it's like, she's hot, but I don't know. And there's like such a lack of, and women are like, if you watched half of the rom-coms that we do, you might have a single inkling of how to treat a woman. We're like, just watch them and learn, take notes. Because if you took away 5 things from The Notebook, and sure, there's a lot of toxicity in it too.
I was like, are we going there? Oh my God.
Listen, I know. I've watched these like relationship therapists like dissect all of those movies, and there's a lot of toxicity, but there's a lot of like treatment in like, this is why she fell for him. This is, this was good. Okay, I know The Notebook is like,
I was like, continue, because you're walking right into it.
So what I'm saying,
because we're basing expectations on The Notebook.
No, okay, so let's Walk to Remember. Like, I don't know, like, I'm gonna keep going for Nicholas Sparks.
I know, it's like Nicholas Sparks.
But the point that I'm getting at is that when you look at any romance film, and yes, this is the problem, is women are getting all, but if men took 5 notes, they don't have to follow the whole freaking pattern of the movie. They took 5 notes.
Sure.
And what are those notes? Oh, he emotionally communicated. Oh, he went chasing after her when she was bummed out and asked her, like, what do you need from me? Like, oh, like, there's different things that are like, oh, he sent her flowers. Oh, he showed up on time. Like, there are notes to be taken.
Sure. I would definitely say there's things that are of value in those types of movies or the content. But I'd say there's more disinformation. And it sets so many guys up thinking, I need to come with flowers. I need to come trying to solve a problem. I need to be the white knight. And 9 times out of 10, that backfires so bad. And what's interesting is they're trying to do what's right or what they think is right. They don't know how to pace. They don't know the sequence in which to do those things. And I think that's extremely frustrating. A lot of the guys that I work with, that are my clients, they are typical nice guys. They come in with all the chivalry and all the let me cater to your needs, and they're completely disregarded. They're put into the friend zone, and they're like, what the heck is going on? And then I hear the women who say, I want a guy that does this, this, and this. I'm like, I know 3 guys you've put into the friend zone who check off all those boxes, but because you need it to look like a certain way, because Bridgerton, like we look at Bridgerton, when you get that, you're repelled. You don't actually want that person to be coming and catering to you in that way. It looks great on TV. It's very visually stimulating, but in real life, that's not how women respond. It's just not.
Did you watch Bridgerton?
I've watched several episodes with my wife.
I'm like, because I don't think that there was, the first one specifically is the one that I like the best, because there wasn't, they were faking a relationship, and
I'm using Bridgerton just as an example.
I know.
We could talk about Outlander. We can talk about any types of
What
things.
I liked about it was that they became friends. And I think that was one of the most beautiful ways in which they became friends, because there were sparks there was connection there. They were trying to pretend there wasn't, and they were just ignoring it. But in the process of ignoring those things, they got to know each other, and they got to like each other.
Sure.
And so that, I'm like, I feel like that's reasonable.
That's one of the least likely ways for a guy to get a wife, is to go from the friend zone. Start from there. Let's be friends first. That is not realistic. Women are going to assess if they'd like to have sex with you within 15 seconds. 15 seconds.
But
now you can build into that a little bit, but once you've gotten into the friend space, trying to get back out of that is an act of God.
I know more people who've gotten out of the friend space and gotten married than would be. No, I know more.
Do you want me to say it? They weren't the first choice.
No. I'm talking like the healthiest marriage. The healthiest
I'm
marriages,
sure.
when you look at
I'm
statistics,
just saying that
are starting out as friends first.
I get it, but he's not her first choice. If he went into the friend zone and she selected him later on, it was a backup. It was a safe option. That's not the guy that was stimulating that sexual desire, that like he wasn't checking off the masculine traits that she's looking for. He was a backup. And I know that's going to piss a lot of people off, but it's so true. Or else he wouldn't have been in the friend zone to begin with.
But I think using the word backup or not first choice, I think that language is cutting down what is there. I think that it's something that the female feels safe with him, and that is where I think like love should be born, is in safety. And we're not taught that.
I agree. I couldn't agree with that more.
Say that again. Say that again.
Guys in the friend zone do make a woman feel safe, but don't make her feel the feelings that she needs to want to have a deeper emotional connection. She'll give that guy a chance later on, but he's not coming correctly. So he is getting frustrated, he's getting overlooked, and guys might be in that space for years before he's given a real good opportunity. Again, he's not first choice. He's just not. He's just hovering around, being the nice guy, being a good guy, showing up consistently, being there emotionally, and then eventually she might give him another chance, or maybe he starts dating somebody, and then the woman's like, wait a second, he actually is kind of attractive. Well, yeah, because you see him dating. Happens all the time.
I had an argument and I lost
it. You're fine. Just talking about being in the friend zone, and yes, you can have a great marriage after that, but that is because the logic of the relationship starts making more sense. She removes he's not making me feel the.
I remembered. Sorry.
Let's dive. Let's dive in.
The same feelings that make you feel like sexually interested or aroused or excited or whatever are also the same as your fight or flight response. And so sometimes that's very confusing, and that's how you choose the wrong person.
Oh, I completely agree.
And so I think if you are mature and you're intact with those kind of things, that getting out of the friend zone does make sense. Like all the healthiest people, and I know that you're saying it doesn't happen often. Maybe it should. Maybe that should be how things are done, and there does have to be attraction there.
Sure.
There does have to be an interest, and I think that that sometimes, girls have been friends with guys that they find attractive, but they're like, oh, he wouldn't like me, so like we're just best friends, and that happens for both guys and girls. And so I think it's entirely plausible, and I honestly think that Gen Z, from what I've understood, I think Gen Z is doing more of that.
We're coming for you.
I think Gen Z is doing more of that. From what I heard, they're getting paired up with friends of friends. They're getting paired up in real life. They've gotten off of the apps. They're doing that because they also still have, like in your 20s, you're still connected. You still have a social group. And so that's what they're doing. And I think that they're making waves and fixing a lot of the things that happened to us millennials. We just got inundated. The internet hit, and social media, and porn went bonkers, and like it's too accessible.
We're the bridging generation. Like we remember what it was like playing till the lights came on outside, and then now we're here like being TikTok famous and stuff like that. Like we've experienced the whole gamut.
Yeah, and so I say that like my fight for this is that I feel like if you say that it's second choice, or that like he was her backup plan or whatever, that you dissuade men from wanting to pursue in that way, in that safe way.
I do dissuade men. Why, if my path is here, if my objective is here, why would I take that far out route? And there's almost no guarantee that you're going to get back on track. I would never do that.
With somebody that you're already friends with. I'm not saying like you go in and you're like, let's just be friends. But like if you already have a friend and you've been like attracted, like don't discount yourself. There's still a possibility that, and you just have to, I don't know, because I've also had this thing where it's like your friend's coming after you and you're like, dude, I'm just so not interested. I don't find you attractive. I don't want to hurt your feelings. I just don't see you that way. And that's, I think, the hard part too, is that we're such this whole culture in America in general is like attraction based, and like fall in love and sparks and sparklies.
That's not American culture. That's human nature.
Right.
We want that. We want to find our partner visibly sexually attractive. We just do.
But in other cultures arranged marriages go from like a happiness level of here to here. In our culture, we go from a happiness level here to here.
Why do you think that is?
Because people are more focused on how the other person makes them feel than, and like, putting you are my happiness into them, when I think they lose their effort because I mean, there's a multitude of things. Like I could list probably 20 if I could sit down with a piece of paper.
Which cultures are we referring to? You said they're arranged marriages ones?
Arranged marriages have a higher happiness, and it's because they put forth effort into it. They said, like, we didn't know each other, we didn't like each other, it took years. And then, 40 years into their marriage, they're like, I could not imagine my life with somebody else. Like I hit the jackpot.
Sure. So that's a completely different social dynamic. So when we introduce choice, because arranged marriages, there is no choice, there's no opportunity to even entertain, do I even find this person attractive? Once you introduce that, because that's how we are primitively like structured, that's how it is. We look at something, we're attracted, do we want to bond with that person, like
thing?
What person, man, woman. When you completely remove that, you do make it more of a transactional thing. Does this marriage make sense? And that's what they're doing. And there's a lot of shame in breaking up the marriage. There's also a lot of financial, like you talk about Americans and their divorce issues. You don't know what it's like to be an Indian family and get a divorce. You want to talk about like destroying generations of wealth and businesses and assets, and not even talk about the shame. Like that's why they last so long. There is so much about the community that will shame you. You almost can't get married again. Here it's not that way.
Because
we talked about it two weeks ago. Here we have divorce parties. They would never do that.
No. Well, and that's when you were like, bring back shame because of that. And so I think that there was something to be like, there's positives and negatives to the pendulum swing. You bring back shame and you bring back power and abuse. Or if you get rid of shame entirely, you get rid of accountability. So it's like, can we not land somewhere in the, like, why do we have to have like a mommy daddy be like, this is how you need to be, you need to work within that? Like, can't people just discern and like know how to treat people well? It just seems like we have a lack of people being able to treat people well. And I think that we've idealized what well is as well.
Yes.
But and I mean, like we chatted earlier about the romance novels and films and porn industry and how that has just skewed everything. Oh, yeah. And so the idealism around all that, I get that that's impractical, but I'm also like what's going to be the change then?
What's going to be the change? Well, I will answer that. Let me ask, who do you think's expectations are more out of line with reality, men or women?
I think you're going to say women.
I'm just waiting to hear what you have to say.
I think you're going to say women.
Do you think that would be the right answer? Because men's expectation, like you said, it's going to be a very visually driven. So we're seeing the Instagram influencers, we're watching porn. So we have a sexual expectation. But that's about, in my opinion, where it kind of stops. Like it's not really further beyond that where it's out of reality, where they're basing it off of other content or conversations. Like guys aren't getting around saying, man, if she's not giving you king treatment, you need to kick her to the curb. That is not happening.
No.
It's just not.
No.
And then what would king treatment look like? I feel like the guys don't even want to really say what that would look like. But women are able to, so we're gonna talk about it.
Here's the other thing that I will propose into this ideology is that women are all, for generations, I don't know if that's true anymore, but for generations, women were doing the things to treat a man well, taking care of him, taking care of the house, taking care of this, being tender, wanting to talk, wanting to have a conversation, check in with your emotions. How was your day, honey? Like, what is it that you need? What can I do for you? You had a rough day? Like, let's do something that's, coming up with the ideas to like de-stress. It's been women primarily as the nurturers.
Sure. And
so because of that, I think that men don't come in with expectations for those needs because women are meeting them. women come in with the expectations of needs being met because men aren't meeting them, nor do they seem to care to.
I would agree. And I'm seeing an uptick, though, in a receiving a reciprocal before you even invest type of mindset where, and we kind of talked a little bit about this, about feminism and chivalry, how can they balance? There being such a high level of now expectation of what a guy is supposed to bring, what he's supposed to like invest first. Like if he's not flying me out, if we're not going on trips, if we're not dining in places, if this isn't happening, if he's not buying me a bag, if this isn't happening. And I'm not saying that is the norm. That is not what I'm saying. But we see that type of content so often. We see that type of content I know it's the dishwasher. We're seeing those types of conversations and things being shared everywhere by a very small amount of people. That is their lifestyle. They're doing that sugar baby life. Okay, do that thing.
Right.
But if that becomes what we are constantly fed, and then those type of ideologies are spread, the unrealistic expectation or standards start to be raised to guys. Hey, you need to. If she's doing this, you need to be doing this. Like I won't talk to anybody unless you hit my Cash App. Like that is not something that's rare. That is super common. Super common. You look perplexed, like you can't believe that's even happening.
Well, so again, like we're back to
That happened to one of my clients this week.
that specific.
That specific thing. I won't go on a date unless you Cash App me this. I need to get my nails if I'm going to come to you. Also, because she's a single mom, she wants him to pay for the child care.
And this is how long have they been dating?
This is the first date. This is how it's coming. This is the expectation. If he's not providing for me right now, if this isn't how he's coming, I'm not having it. This is just, so that's the whole topic today, folks. That's what we're talking about.
That's what spurred this on then?
Oh no, this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while.
That's interesting. So, but
Men have some of these also, by the way, but it's not to that extent, and it's not that consistent. It's few and far between for a guy.
yeah, it's tough. I feel bad. Like I feel bad for men because it's. I heard another man talking about this. Mm-hmm. It's the financial burden aspect, and then also being like emotionally available and emotionally mature, and also like being especially okay. So the older that you get, the more expectation of financial stability and
of course
career stability and stuff like that, because it's an expectation. If you're in your 40s, it's expected that you kind of have your feet on the ground, and if you don't,
of course,
you are looked upon more negatively.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's other things about, like, there's a study done. I'm gonna really ruffle feathers. That's why I'm like tentative right now.
That's what we're here for. Go for it.
Well, no. So there's a study done, and women who are overweight going for jobs will still get them. Men who are overweight going for jobs are less likely to get them because they're perceived as lazy, which is really, really interesting to me, because we are in this celebrate your body, celebrate obesity, celebrate, and without like putting the work in. And that is a culture that we're in right now, where it's just radical acceptance of all things and never putting the work in. And so I feel bad because women are now, I guess the pendulum swung, right? It's like women were told to shut up, go home, make me a roast, dinner better be on the table at 6.
Sure.
So the pendulum swung, and now men are treated like garbage, whereas like in the 1950s, women were. And so I'm hoping at some point in the near future, we swing it into the middle again. But it does seem like the expectations on men to arrive at all these levels. But again, I go back to what I said before, which is just like, because women were and are, now the women are doing what the men did, which is like, you better like I'm trying not to curse because just in case the littles watch it. You're
okay.
But just like,
plug your ears, kids.
Yeah. Bitch, better get your stuff in shape. Like that's where we're at, is like So the expectation pendulum has swung, and I feel bad for men because They're expected to be chivalrous, but not too chivalrous. They're expected to be financial go-getters, but they still need to make time for the family. They're expected to be sensitive and sincere, but not a pussy. They're expected to be, innovative and creative and take hold of things, but they're also not expected to be controlling and domineering and want his way. And so it's like we're looking for this perfect balance. And I don't think that that's wrong to look for or to build with somebody. But I do think at the level with which we're requiring it, or the level with which society is requiring it, or that kind of crap, like, well, you're going to pay for my child care, and you're going to pay for, that is obscene. It's unrealistic. It's impractical. And it's also like, I want to say dogmatic, but that's not the right word. It's overbearing.
Well, it is. And I'm wondering if some of these expectations aren't masking fear of being hurt. And so we create such a high list, a high level of standards to vet people so we can disqualify them. So we don't actually have to create any connections or bonds. And I'm not going to call my client out, but I said I was going to reference something during this episode. This happened today. I was messaged by a client, sent me a photo, says, "What do you think of this guy? Good looking guy." And I was about to, like, what do you kind of mean? And she said, "He's a doctor, he's 42, he's 6'2", looks like this." I'm not going to give any more description. Good looking dude. She says, "I just don't know because he has blonde hair." And he was doing all the things, like they met out of town. He's being super chivalrous, making sure she's safe, walking her to where she needs to, communicating, very upstanding, doing a lot in his life, like real estate investment. I'm talking like the works. He doesn't have the right color hair. I'm just like, we're going to talk about this tomorrow because it's everything in me, not just light you up in these Oh, yeah.
Did you light her up?
It's coming tomorrow. It's coming tomorrow. Well, it's funny. She said, she goes, "You know what? I'm realizing I actually sound kind of insane."
Okay, well, good for you, girl. You checked in with yourself. Good for you. Yeah,
it's a big start. I said, "You're not insane, first of all," but it does highlight that even someone that's coming so perfectly, if you will, still isn't going to be enough. That we're still going to disqualify somebody.
Can I ask, does she offer all the same things she's asking for?
I can't say that.
Okay, because that's my big thing. So like my big thing is like if I'm going to ask for these things, it's because I'm already offering.
Sure.
Like somebody once said, it's the Christian culture of like, be the kind of person you'd want to marry.
Sure.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Like I love that. If there is one good thing the Christian culture with dating came out with, it's that. Be the kind of person you'd want to be married to. And so that is something that I took and ran with, and that is what has built my expectations is like, if I'm going to offer this, there should be a reciprocation in some way. And I don't mean all the same things, right? Like I love cooking. I don't expect you to love cooking, but I would love for you to participate by like helping me clean up after.
Sure.
That's
balance. That's yin and yang. That's
right.
That's complementary.
It's like if I've worked on all of like the emotional intelligence stuff and I've read these books and I've gone to therapy and then I expect that you've put some work in.
Sure.
I don't want to be your therapist. I don't want to be your guiding light.
Right.
You need to have that figured out.
So those are good standards. Those are great standards.
But it seems that like I'm not, but I do have physical ones too because I want to be attracted. And they're not outrageous. They're not outrageous. I'm not.
Let's hear it. We're all listening. Describe your type.
I don't have a type. That's just it.
Okay.
I have dated, especially because like in California, I was trying to explain that like, okay, I have to be very careful right now. In California, because it's such a melting pot of ethnicities, white people look all sorts of different ways. You have a white person
I didn't know what you were going to say. I'm like,
you have a white person that
I'm
is
listening. I'm from California.
Very
I'm
olive complected. You have it's a vast array of different appearances. And so when I was dating all sorts of different people. Like not a single person really looked the same.
Okay.
But I do, like I said, I do have a height thing, and it's because of me. It's not because, oh, I just want a tall man. It's because I grew up the tall kid. I was the tall girl at the back, and when you're a female and you're the tallest and you have a complex about it,
Sure.
it sits with you. Like Zendaya and Tom Holland, great for you. Her mom was taller than her dad. She didn't think a single thing of it. She's dating Tom. He's an inch shorter than her. They're in love. Awesome. I love that for you.
Couldn't be you.
That's not, I can't do it. I have tried. I've dated many.
Even with
men.
all the qualities and attributes that a Tom Holland would bring now, man, he's just lacking 2 inches there.
It's not that. It's like, it would be one of those things where you're like, I can't put my finger on what it is. Yes, I can. I can't, like, I feel a lack of,
Say it.
like feminine draw towards him. Like, he does not feel as...
He's not stimulating the masculine that you need in a partner.
Because I know that I have a big personality. I know that
That's how guys get put in the friend zone. They're not stimulating that masculine need from her. That's what happens. I mean, he might eventually demonstrate that he has those.
There's been a few guys who, like, were not in, like, the height bracket for me. And I went on a date with a guy who was 5'6". I'm 5'5.5".
Sure.
And he had told me he was like 5'8". And I was like, no, you aren't. And I tried so hard, and I had like the flattest of sandals that I was wearing. Like they were I was feeling the pavement through them.
Okay.
And I still was just like, I can't. Like, he was so handsome and he was nice, but I just could not. Like, there was nothing there. And I wanted there to be something there.
Sexual desire is not there. He's not stimulating it the way that you need it.
But there was a guy who said he was 6 foot. He was 5'9". I know he was 5'9". And I was still, like, engaged with it. I was interested. We had great dates. I think we went on, like, 5 dates. And he turned out to be a bit of a liar.
I mean, if he lied about his height.
I mean, everybody...
And that's not even a little.
Everybody lies about their height every guy lies about their height on dating apps. I'm sorry.
Do they?
It's just...
Do they?
You know you do.
I mean, if you're under 6 foot, you might. No.
Every single guy that I know has lied about it just a little bit. Half of them don't even know how tall they really are.
Okay.
These guys are like, no, I've never lied about it. But every single guy that I know, outside of these fine folks here.
Okay. Do you think that women are lying on the dating app as well?
Oh yeah.
What's the number one thing you think women are lying about on the dating app?
Their pictures.
Yeah?
They're completely filtered. Yeah, do you even look that way? No.
Do you think they're doing that to fit an unrealistic expectation?
Yeah, that's why guys are lying about their height too. I see the synchronicity. I see how it's happening. Well, I'm just saying, I've tried, and I think 5'9's been like my lowest I can get while still having that. Okay. And it's, I gave it a go, and I don't discount. I'm like, I'll give it a try, because I know what you were gonna say. I know what every dating person on the history of the planet has ever said is like, don't discount the short guy. Don't discount the short guy, because it's so effed up. Because it really is. It is effed up, and I'm sorry.
But you can't help what you are attracted to.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Like, who's your celebrity crush? Give me 2 of them.
Oh man, I can't do this.
This is fun.
Well, I just can't think fast enough. It's like asking my favorite band. I have no idea. What's music?
What's music?
Like, that's what happened. What's your favorite food? Do I eat? I don't know.
Sure. Like,
I can't do favorites.
Weren't we talking about Sofia Vergara's ex-husband? Like,
no,
you were
he's
like,
not like my celebrity crush though.
Okay.
He's hot.
Gorgeous, right?
Hold on. Oh wait, we don't have time to hold on, because this is like a
Who you got?
Taylor Kitsch. He was on Friday Night Lights. Yeah. River Phoenix.
Okay.
So.
Dang.
Oh.
Okay.
So cute.
Okay.
We lost him before we should have lost him.
I agree.
Okay. I'm trying to. I've got nothing going on in my brain right now.
What do they have in common?
You know what I'm attracted to is like it's a way that somebody carries themselves. Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
It's their energy. It's their confidence.
Mm-hmm. I've realized that. Mm-hmm. I've realized that in the last couple years. I'm like, oh my gosh, the reason that I'm attracted to this person. Yeah. It's like that I could take their whole face out. Yeah. And like, but I will. There are a couple like physical standards, which is like height. I do have the height thing. And
Most women do.
I do have a thing about teeth. I do have a thing about teeth.
Okay. I mean, these are subconscious symbols of health, whether or not you're somebody I should try to have a child with.
And like weight is another one because I'm very conscious. I'm also like I'm right up in the whole conspiracy theorist thing. Like,
which one?
Make America healthy again. No, make America healthy again. I'm like, let's get rid of our food dyes. Let's get rid of pharmaceuticalizing.
So then someone that you're dating needs to be on board with that also.
I'm gonna watch this back and I'm gonna hate me. I just said over pharmaceuticalizing.
No, you're okay. It's a new word. They'll add it to the dictionary. So someone that you want to date needs to be on the same page as you about.
Yeah, about health stuff. Because I think food is. We eat three times a day.
It's life. Yeah, I get it.
Like I need somebody who's not going to be like, let's go with Burger King and McDonald's, and I want somebody who's going to be like, that's a fun item at times, but that is not how we live.
Sure.
So yeah, and I know that those are standards that I have, and they're not expectations because I know not everybody is like me.
Sure.
But there are standards where I'm like, I know that would work well with me. I don't want to have to convince you and like argue with you. All the time about how red dye 40 is like.
Yeah, we don't need to go into all.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want to have to.
I can imagine what your first dates are like.
I don't talk about that on first dates. All
right. Okay, so we do agree that there's definitely an imbalance in what is realistic and unrealistic expectations on both sides, men and women.
Yeah.
We agree that there's probably a few more unrealistic expectations on the women's side?
Yes, but justifiably.
Justifiably.
Just in the sense of like that we came from, because we know that we're offering all these things, like we're so like aware that I don't want to speak for all women. I don't want to speak for all women, but as far as like the nurturing and the taking care of stuff and just stepping up. That's a big problem we're having right now with the masculine feminine energy thing, is that like women are just jumping into their masculine energy to like get stuff done, go, and men are like, cool, I'm gonna be hands off, you can take care of that. Men aren't stepping up because they're like, well, there's no space for me to step up. And it's like, no, bro, you create the space. And so I think that like that's what's happening, is like women have stepped up for so long that what's occurred is that like we have expectations of a man to also step up. And so that's where a lot of these expectations come from, is years and years and years, decades of offering and now being like, your turn.
So women are stepping into their masculine and they're, if you want to say, they're thriving in that space, and then you see a guy just sitting back letting her do that.
I don't think thriving, because I'm currently recently experienced the situation of like just going and doing because it needs to get done.
Yeah.
Going, doing, it needs to get done. Something needs to get done, go do it. And if you ask, and men, I don't know if all men are like this, but a lot of the ones that I know are, it's like it's done in their own time. And their own time could be 9 p.m. tonight when it really needed to get done at 12 p.m.
Sure.
And so it's like, you're not going to do it when I've asked you to do it, so I'm just going to do it. Or you haven't communicated, hey, I'm in the middle of something, it's got to wait until this evening unless you want to tackle it. Like there's no like, where he has now commanded that and he's like, hey, I'm going to take care of it. It's going to be later unless it needs to be done right now. I can't do it. If you want to go ahead and do it, I'll get something else. Like he's not taking back his control. He's just letting her handle everything. So then she's juggling everything. And he's letting her because that's easier. Why would he step in? Like he's already doing the bills, or he's already doing the you know, if that's the situation. Like he's already stepping up in whatever ways he wants to. Who wants more responsibilities? Nobody.
Sure.
So she's taking them on. Why not let her? But then that forces her in her masculine energy. He's in his feminine energy. There's discourse there. And so I think what's happening is women are trying to avoid getting an effeminate man who's not going to step up and do what he needs to do. But what they're creating is docile, like little slave men. They're just trying to like get them to do whatever they like. Now it's turned into this like control thing, this power trip from what you said in, no offense.
No, I get it. Do you know what women's greatest attribute is. You all are the best motivators that's ever been on this planet. And if you look around at every aspect of this world, bridges, medicine, technology, planes, buildings, we built that shit for y'all.
But for yourselves too.
No. We don't care. We're no. Oh no. We did that because we want adoration from you all. That is your greatest attribute. And when a woman steps into her masculine, she loses her ability to motivate. So when a guy's not doing the dishes by a certain time, it's not because he doesn't want to. There's not been an inspiration. So when you step into your masculine, that is, you're doing that to yourself.
I'm inspired to do the dishes right now.
Yeah.
Neither am I.
Quite
They
literally.
have to get done. Get that done.
The thing that a woman does the best is motivate.
And
so you have to find your feminine voice, motivate.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's
Okay.
Well, it's just
If
like,
you want a man
why,
to move,
why
you need
can't
to
I?
motivate him to move in the way that you want
That
him
is
to.
absurd.
Why?
Because a child does more of what needs to get done than a grown ass man does. Then in that case, hey, the dishes need to get done. Okay, who's gonna do them?
Sure.
That's gonna be the dynamic, unless
does it-
she figures out some manipulation tactic of using her feminine prowess or whatever to
Femininity is not manipulative.
Huh?
Femininity is not
But
manipulative.
it sounds like
it's
it has
motivational.
to be. It sounds like it has to be, because you can't directly say, hey, can you please do this? Because then you're in your masculine energy. So now you have to find some feminine way to do it. Right?
Just you being feminine motivates men to move in the way that they are supposed to. Take the tallest building in the world, Burj Khalifa. Do you think they just did that because they were playing poker? Like, I bet I could build a building taller than you.
Possibly.
No.
Men are competitive.
We are competitive for what?
Achievement.
Adoration. We want to impress you all. We want the most access. We want to be celebrated. We want.
Isn't this a broad generalization, though, for
Oh no,
all men?
this is what motivates men to do anything great. What is the phrase
Let's
that
take
women
a
that
poll.
women love to say? Behind every great man is a
Great woman. A greater woman. A better woman?
a great woman. So why is that? Because a great woman motivates her man. She moves him in the way that he needs to.
I'd be curious what if all men would agree with the sentiment that
women are the most powerful motivators on earth.
no, that it's all like I'm doing everything for adoration, and that driving force can come entirely from women adoring us. I'd be curious.
Do we want to go to some questions? I think it's
Are we
about
there
time.
yet?
Yeah, I think it's about time.
I mean, can we put a poll up on this one?
Yeah, we can absolutely. Yeah, let's put a
Yeah.
poll.
Yeah, we'll have to poll because I'm very curious about this.
Okay, say exactly how you want the poll to go.
Oh, shnikes.
Go for it.
Okay.
Speak it in, and then we'll put it on into social media.
Agree or disagree, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
how we would do this. Agree or disagree that all men are motivated by adoration of a woman,
Of women.
of women.
Mm-hmm.
All men are motivated by adoration of women, and that is why they do what they do.
That is
Agree
why.
or disagree?
That is why we strive as hard as we do. Because what did you just say is when there's nothing really at stake, we'll just relax. But when we know that there is going to be a reward, and it's usually women, we'll sack a whole city. We'll invade a country. That's exactly what we'll do, and we'll make sure you don't have to get involved. We're not going to draft you.
You want to go around the room and see what they say?
Yeah, let's go.
Just real quick, yes or no?
Just a yes or no.
Yes.
Yes. No.
No.
Okay, so yes, yes, no, no.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Sure. So they don't think that women are the chief motivators for human achievement.
Okay.
Okay. Now let me ask why.
And I think there's a lot to both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we want to like impress our partner or like be good to our partner and do the right thing for our partner and stand out for our partner.
Mm-hmm.
But
Or
I think
strive to
alive-
get a partner, just to even
Well,
get one, to
yeah,
get
I
the
mean-
to get the adoration, to get the opportunity to have a partner.
Yeah,
we
but
will strive.
If that's the only thing that motivates you, you will fail. You need to have that self-motivation for yourself to do better for yourself. And if you can't do better for yourself, you can't do better for someone else.
No, yeah, I completely agree. We require measurement markers. We have to have a marker of our progress, of our success. Something has to show that we are on the right path. And we as men, we in our 20s don't get a whole lot of attention from women. They're just not looking at us. We don't bring a lot to the table. We just don't. We might be like physical specimens, but we're idiots. Yeah. We don't have a lot of money, but yeah, I can run a quick 40-yard dash, and I might be able to bench press like 275, but I don't have a lot more that I can bring. And when we start accumulating more life achievements and accomplishments, we will start getting more attention from women. They'll start seeing us as valuable, and that will, like, just the idea of pursuing something that's hard, knowing that you're going to have more opportunities, we're talking, this goes biological, this is evolutionary. The more things that you accrue in life, the more opportunities you're going to have with women. We know this biologically. So we do strive. We want to achieve as high as we possibly can so we can have access to women. This is how it's been since the dawn of time. This is why men do stupid stuff. I'm going to jump my motorcycle across 3 buses. We're going to do some stupid stuff because we want to impress, not the boys, women.
Really?
We might get the adoration of men at the same time, but
what about like fraternities, and what about like when guys go and do like the jackass stuff and all that, you know, like when guys are doing all the foolish junk.
That is foolish junk.
They're all doing it for each other.
Those aren't achievements.
Okay.
Those aren't
I mean,
achievements.
like what's his face? Vroom Vroom. The one.
Evel Knievel.
Evel Knievel.
Sure.
My words today.
Sure.
Thank you so much for reading my mind.
No, you're absolutely right. If he had no access to women before or after a jump, he wouldn't be doing it.
But he didn't.
He just wouldn't. Like, the risk is worth it. Like, he's got ladies in the bus waiting for him.
Right, but they were also.
He just does.
His wife at times was like, I don't want you doing this.
Totally understand. But
So
that's
then-
also
but
how
it's
he
still
provides for
also
the family.
propelled
Because he
him.
looks at her and is like, I got to provide, I got to protect, I got to make sure she has a life. I'm going to put my life on the line. And men do that every day in the most dangerous jobs. They will do that for that person. They will work it longer and harder so that person at home is safe and provided for. We will push harder, longer, to make sure that our woman is safe and provided for, or so we can get a woman that we can provide and protect for. We will do that. The men who don't have the opportunity or the option of a woman at some point, like even down the tunnel, are aimless. Most of them are. They have to have a goal.
But do you think it's changing at all, like with the social media fame and how people are just becoming like TikTok famous and whatever? Do you think that there's a little bit of a shift where it's no longer about finding a one person, but it's about that fame and glory, and they have so much access to it? So it's no longer directed towards I want to, I'm motivated because I want to find the right person, the right lady. I want to impress the right girl.
Well, everyone's prerogative will be different in terms of, like, do I want to find the right girl or do I want to just have girls look at me? Because most guys don't have even a girl looking at them. So yes, they will try to blow up their following, and trust me, they're not counting how many guys are following them. They're looking at the girls that are following. They just are, and they're like thinking about that. That's what they're doing. It's again, women are the biggest motivators. You just are. Like, celebrate that, lean into that, like, nourish that,
So then
and move men with that energy.
Okay, so we're talking expectations of, like, women's are higher of men, but what it sounds like you're saying is that we have the power within us to motivate a man to reach the expectations we have for him.
You have the power to make him reach his greatest potential, but also to manipulate the hell out of him. You can use it for good or evil, but you have that power. You just do. That girl that said, I want you to hit my Cash App, she's not motivating. She's manipulating. But she is a motivator. She's capable of doing that. She motivated him to hit that Cash App.
Did he do it?
Of course. Yep. Happens all the time. Yes, women and their allure is so intoxicating. Why do you think OnlyFans is as successful as it is? Why?
Because
women motivate. Women motivate them.
Porn. It's
He's going to work, coming home, and giving her money.
Right, but it's
because
the-
she's motivating him.
It's
He's
the
thinking about her.
pornography culture, though.
Oh, I completely agree.
And it's the addiction. Like that's running on an addiction cycle. And it's also
Yeah.
what is it that they talked about? It's when you have something that's that easily accessible, like you have the thing that you want, it's that easily accessible. All you have to do is pay a few bucks. You don't have to woo her. You don't have to take her on a date. It's far cheaper than a date. And so that's a whole dynamic that shifts things as well, too.
It's super tricky. I mean, modern dating is difficult. It just is. And expectations being based on social media or being based on pornography or being based on Bridgerton or anything, any type of romance novel, anything like that. If you aren't grounded in what real life is like, you're going to have difficulty finding a genuine connection with somebody because you're going to think that it should look like this. If they're not approaching this way, if they're not providing this thing, if he's not saying this, if she's not looking like this, then there can't be anything here. I'm going to move on to the next one. And it is the fastest way for you to ruin what could potentially be a really amazing relationship. But because you are so about your unrealistic expectations based in things that are so unhealthy, like get off the phone for a minute. Unplug from social media. Like, talk to people who actually are in relationships. Hey, what did you notice about her? How do you guys have your arguments? Who's taking care of this responsibility and this responsibility? Those are the types of conversations that people need to be having. Not just like, how often do you guys go on vacation? Like, that is not what a relationship is. That is not what we should be thinking that the dating culture should be. That is so skewed, and I really want people to just reassess where they're getting their expectations from. It's really just what I want. When my wife and I, when we started dating, like, I was not doing very well financially, but I showed up consistently, just like you said. Like, where are those types of guys? Well, I was one of them. I didn't have a lot of money, but I was diligent. I communicated very, very well, and I showed up consistently. I was asking her on a date, like, within the first week of us talking, I took her out 5 times.
In the first week?
In the first week. She's hot. I'm not going to let a guy get her time. Are you serious? Absolutely not. I'm also going to set a precedence. Like, bro, you have no chance. Look, like, you have no chance.
Can you please phrase the fact that we were doing like very like sweet things, like going on a hike?
It was dates. It was actual dates, like 5 dates in 1 week.
Is there a misconception about that? That's
what it
my
is.
brain went
5
there.
dates. Yeah, 5 dates.
5 dates is adorable.
Like we were doing,
That's like a hot pursuit.
The first thing was like we just went and got burgers. That was our first date. Very easy, very approachable. Then we went on a hike. We went to the market. We went to a speakeasy. Like, it was super easy in terms of just like planning. It didn't have to be some type of grand thing. And like, guys, I really want to encourage you, like, don't, and I said this in the last episode, stop doing these big grandiose first dates. It doesn't need to be like that.
No, it's awkward too.
I think,
a lot of
I mean,
pressure.
she's here, but I think our first date cost like $30, like max. And then it was just about building that connection.
Well, you said
That's all it was.
that your first date, you're like 1 hour and I have 2 questions. And so obviously she passed the 2-question game.
She certainly
And
did.
then, so it sounds to me like it was like a short date, and then you immediately were like, now I want to see you tomorrow. And so that would tell a girl like, oh, he's so interested. He wants to see me tomorrow too.
She knew it. I was holding her hand after the first date, walking her to her car, and I didn't even know why I was doing it, but it felt right. It felt right. Well, when you go into a first date with expectations based in reality, to just have a connection, not what can I get out of this, not this transactional mindset, like, oh, I'm going to get this out of this, I'm going to this and that. Like, I just wanted to get to know her with 2 questions and see if we had things in common. And we did. And I felt so close to her. Like, I was literally I almost kissed her on the first date. And I'll get into that later about whether I recommend that. But I almost did. But the connection was there. I went with, if you want to say low expectations, you can, but I thought they were very well balanced. I just wanted to get to know her. That was it. No other prerogative. No transactional stuff. That was it. That's all I wanted. And now we've been together, 7.5 years? Something like that. Yeah. And I love it. I love you, babe.
Aww.
Okay. Do you have anything else before I let them ask a question or 2?
No, I think those were the big ones that I was hoping to talk about and address.
Okay.
Because I feel bad for men, and I mentioned that I do feel bad for women too, but I think that we're starting to cause our problems. But even when we're at the speed dating thing, I'm talking to these women, and it's like it's the lack of emotional availability from men is like the biggest thing. I think that's like our biggest standard and expectation right now, and I feel like men are faking us out.
Emotional availability, like they're not bringing it, or they're faking it.
They're faking that they're emotionally available, and then realizing once the accountability part hits that they are not, and so they're leading us on and then bowing out.
Well, the first like date or two is very, I don't want to say it's an act, but it's kind of an act. Like we're both kind of feeling each other out, and then like, hey, if I can build some trust, I'm going to let you know something kind of personal about me. I'm going to assess and see how you handle it, but I don't know if I feel confident enough to tell you about that thing yet. And I'm like, oh, should I say that? Or
yeah, I'm right to that. Like that's my goal. Goal first date is to have, like what I said is there's that threshold where it's like when I see that they're comfortable.
How do you feel about red dye number 40?
That's nothing. That's so microscopic on the scale of important topics.
Okay.
Like no. So
what's one of your first date questions?
I don't know. It depends on the guy. You got to shape them. You can't have generalizations. You got to shape them around the person. Like if you know that there's something, like if you know that there's something that they've said that you're like, I'm very inquisitive about that specific thing. I need to ask more. It's like that.
Okay. So you don't go in with questions ready
Gosh, no.
Interesting. Okay.
I know, because that's different from how I come here.
Yeah, you're like very studious.
Well, I'll think of stuff, and sometimes I'll be like, I don't interrupt you, and I'll like, or I'll like do something with my food to like mark a memory, or like with my coffee or something. So like I have markers. I have a bad memory.
You mark your food?
No,
like while on the date?
No. I have ways to mark in my head.
Okay.
And it's like sometimes positioning my coffee cup a different way that reminds me that I wanted to say something about a specific topic. It's like, it's a way that I have, like, it's like a mind map. Because if we're having a conversation, I used to get really, really lost. I have a really bad working memory. And so I did a lot of things to help practice so that I could put little like place markers. So that if he was way over here, I was like, oh, but that thing that we were talking about, and I can get us all the way back here so that we have more options of conversation that can go back to that thing that I really wanted to learn about him. And so like I have little different things that I do. Like it's also sometimes, oh great, now we brought attention to it. I'll do stuff with my rings to help me remember things too. Like I have, it's little different things like that.
Do you need a fidget spinner? Would that help?
Fidget spinners don't, they're distracting.
Oh.
But just like, it's why, coffee's great. You can like roll up your napkin, you can like move your cup, you can take sips. It's different things to put a break in the tension and allow your brain to slow down enough to put a little place marker.
That's so interesting.
What?
Well, like if I was on a date with you and you were doing all that, I would think that you were just super nervous.
No, see, I don't, but if we're sitting at a table, it's very easy
where
to.
We're having a coffee date.
Right, it's very easy to like have a napkin on your lap and you would never notice. I get away with it. I only don't get away with it when I bring attention. I do.
Do you? Okay.
I do.
Okay.
No, because that's why people often, when they do find out like all these little weird habits that I have, they're like, how have I never noticed this? And I'm like, because I don't share it, but I'm sharing it now. So now everybody's going to notice that I like.
Give me like, what are you doing under there?
This is how I'm remembering what I want to say to Brock next. Like.
I love it. I love it.
Everybody has to find their own things, especially when you have like ADHD or you have a brain that moves too fast for your mouth. Even though my mouth can move really, really fast.
It's the worst. It's the worst. ADHD.
So you put little you figure out different mind maps. You figure out different ways to.
I get it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Thank you so much for making fun of me about it.
No,
putting me on blast.
We're all doing the best we can.
I'm doing great, okay?
You're doing amazing. You're doing amazing. All right, I want to let you all ask a question. I'm only going to take 2 questions. Anybody here want to ask a question pertaining to the episode's topic? Right here.
Do you think that with the world of romance novels, book talk, and all that stuff like that skews the ideology of a dominant man in the expectation of dating in today's world?
I'd be curious what do you mean like, are romance novels giving the idea of what a dominant man looks like and it's incorrect to what you believe a dominant man actually looks like? Is that what you're getting at? Or like, I want a little clarity on the question before I answer.
Women see dominance in a man in different kind of characteristics
Yeah.
and ways when it comes to relationships, whether it's dominance, hey, go sit down, I'll take care of this, or dominance even in the bedroom. Do you think that book talk in romance novels can skew what a woman's ideology of a dominant man is in a relationship as a whole?
Oh, absolutely. Well, especially with, I think movies, you can almost detach and you can be like, I'm watching a movie. Like when you read a book, you feel closer, like you're experiencing it, you're inside the character's head. So I think absolutely, I think for sure, yeah. And especially what's interesting about that is that most women are the ones writing the romance novels. And so they're writing it from their view of what a man does that's supposed to be chivalrous or dominant or masculine. And so they're writing which I think is interesting for a man to read too, because I read The Way of the Superior Man, which was written by a man for men, and I learned a ton. And so if a man goes and reads a book that's written by a woman for a woman in the same kind of regard, that might be a very interesting, like, this is what women think masculinity is? What? Might be an interesting exploration. That's a great question.
That is a good question. Do we have another one?
I just have a comment on that one, not a question. It's not
Nope, comments aren't allowed. I'm just kidding. No, you're
I just
good.
want to say that yes, women definitely base like a lot of like romance based on books and movies specifically. I had friends that like they would date certain guys because it reminded them of like certain celebrities, and I will also own up to that. I dated a guy once because he looked like Jason Statham a little bit. So yes, to answer your question.
Okay.
I love the honesty.
I want to kind of dive just a little bit into that before we close the show about the romance novels being written by women and portraying what they think a masculine man is or what a woman would find attractive.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to say this as delicately as possible. There's a difference in what women say they want and what they respond to. So romance novels are almost textbook versions of what women say they want, but also what they don't respond to. And that is so misleading because when a woman does see that or reads that or sees it on TV, Nicholas Sparks, for example, it's like, oh, that's so romantic. Really, you have 3 guys who are trying to do that for you and you've pushed them to the side. So
Build a house? Psh,
I'm telling you what I'm saying.
shut up. Like that's how I was joking.
I have been doing this for 10 years and I have seen some shit.
A guy built a house for a woman.
He built a house for himself, that could accommodate her quite easily and her child. He was pursuing. He was an attractive guy, but he came with the wrong energy. He came from a different line of sight and just wasn't what she was looking for. And do you remember what I said last week? I said a lot of people are so used to looking for something that represents something they're familiar with. And that's usually rooted in a trauma from their childhood. So a guy can come proper, respectful, kind, chivalrous, but if she hasn't handled her childhood and dissected what men look like, she's not ever going to see that good guy if those guys growing up weren't good guys. So you hear this all the time, all I seem to attract is assholes. No, you're picking assholes. You got tons of guys wanting to date you. But the reason you keep picking that is because that's what's familiar to you. That's what makes you feel safe, even though it's really not safe, but you're so used to seeing it. So that's why you're going to keep doing that. So again, the romance novels, the TV shows, the movies, the romance, the rom-coms, that's just not how real world works. It's just not. And let's do this. This is actually such a great example. Sweet Home Alabama. I love that movie. It's so good, right? It's so good, right? It's so fun.
I'm like
Reese
immediately
Witherspoon's-
running in my head how you're going to like ruin this for me right now.
Reese Witherspoon. So she's married to a guy down south, but she's engaged to this absolute like prince of a guy, super kind, like pick out whatever ring you want, whatever it is, right?
He was a sweet guy too. That was, yeah. Keep going.
So we all look at the rough type of guy, right? And as we're watching that, we're like, that's the guy that you should go for. Like, look, you have all these connections. He's rugged. He's making a thing for himself, all this type of stuff. And the guy who is coming proper and consistent, the actual fiance, gets completely disregarded. In real life, though, that is the man that she will respond to. She won't respond to the guy that's flying his plane, that has his dog, that's making glass lightning. She's not going to really look at that guy. That's not going to happen. The guy that I know they were married in the movie, but that's the textbook version of a guy who's going to be disregarded. The guy that is the fiance, that comes from notoriety and power. What was he, a lawyer? I can't remember what he was.
Yeah, he was.
It was some type of big thing.
Yeah.
That's going to be the guy that's going to get the time and attention. And those types of movies flip it so bad. And the guy is even nice about it. He's like, "Go be with your husband. I know that's where you really want to be." Like, where do you find that dude at? That's the dude. That's the guy that should be winning. Yet he's not winning even in the movie.
To be fair.
Here we go.
To be fair, Jake, the rugged guy. Look, because I had the same. I was like, oh,
Is
like
he your type?
he's such a good. No, I mean, both like Patrick Dempsey.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
But Jake, they were married. They were married young, so they had a lot of fights, whatever. She hauls off. She's like, "You didn't come after me." He did. He flew to find her. I think that's the part that that is a good husband. He did still go after her. And then he said, "You know what? He did exactly what he did exactly what Patrick Dempsey's." It is Patrick Dempsey, right?
It is.
Yeah. He did exactly what his character did at the end. He did at the beginning, which is she wanted to do what she wanted to do, and he was going to respect that. He did exactly the same thing. So he is still a good guy because he went off and he's like, she wanted to have this guy who was going to make a lot of money and not be so small town. So he did. He made his glass company. He became profitable. He did chase after her. And then when he realized she didn't want anything to do with him, he gave her the space that she was asking for.
Sure. But he never signed the divorce.
Because he had one last hope.
Sure. He was motivated while she was gone. What did he do? He built himself up. She motivated him even when she wasn't around.
Just like Noah building the house for Allie.
Women are the most powerful motivators.
But you also just said that all of that's unrealistic and not how real life works out.
Well, there's parts that are real.
But just not any of the parts where the guy treats the girl good.
The end result, and even in the Notebook, like McAdams, whatever her name is.
Rachel McAdams.
Rachel, like
Allie.
she's engaged. Actually, did she not get married in that?
She did not get married. She was engaged.
So, the same, engaged, great dude.
Lon Hamill.
We're gonna watch this movie.
Dropped. So anyway, these types of movies, romance novels, they are definitely skewing what women think masculinity looks like. So when they don't look like this, they don't know what to think. That's why he needs to come a certain way. My opinion, this is my advice, guys, get truly connected with your masculinity. In fact, like I did a men's retreat this past weekend, and that was a heavy focus, was being in touch with your authentic masculinity, not letting other people tell you what masculinity is. Like truly understanding who you are, what you bring to this world, what your responsibilities as a man are to this world. Other people aren't supposed to be telling you how to do it or how it makes them feel. You do it. That is what being a man is. Whether it makes other people uncomfortable or not, you have a job to build this world. That's what a man does. And women are supposed to motivate us to do it the best we possibly can. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us again on Dating Today, a conversation about modern dating issues. This is Megan, my co-host. I'm Brock, your host. And if you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave that in the section below of this video. Also, Megan did have a poll that she wanted you guys to answer about whether or not you think women are the most powerful motivators on earth, if that's what's motivating men to achieve.
But let me be clear.
Yes or no?
Let me be clear.
Okay, clear it up.
Men have to answer the poll. I see all up on your advice stuff.
Yeah, let the men answer.
The women always get up in there. It's like, hey, men, answer this.
I don't
and the
even
women
care.
Get in there.
I'll let the women do it either, but
No,
we do want the
men.
men. Yes, we do want the men to answer. Men, do you think that women motivate you to achieve beyond what you would just do by yourself?
Men, do you feel motivated by me asking you to answer the poll?
All right, everybody, thank you so much. We will talk to you next Tuesday. Bye. Bye.